Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Foster, and welcome to Fostering America. If you're listening to this, then you're really in for a treat. This podcast is something special. It is the first in what I hope will be a long line of reports brought to you through the SteadfastPatriot.com. Each week, we will bring you the news of the day and mix in our own brand of commentary. As the audience member, you can respond to me at any time by going to SteadfastPatriot.com, and I will be glad to answer any questions or respond to any comments you might have. Well, the first 100 days of Barack Obama's presidency have gone by. Polls are giving Obama good marks on his first 100. In fact, some are even calling him the greatest president that we've ever had. So, what has actually transpired over these past 100 days? Well, the Dow plunged below 7,000. The national unemployment rate has rocketed up to 8.5%. It's much higher in some major metro areas. The federal government passed the two largest spending bills in the history of the world, and the feds also took control of two major automobile manufacturers and several of the nation's banks. On top of that, Mr. Obama has seen fit to fly around the world and apologize to anyone who would listen for the sins of the country he is now president of. Now, I'm not here saying that all of this financial difficulty can be squarely laid on Obama. President Bush did start this government spending fiasco with the first stimulus package. The problem there is that when a Republican tries to spend like a Democrat, he sets the precedent for the Democrats to go even farther than he and spend even more. After all, no party can spend other people's money, that would be your money and my money, like the Democrats can. They certainly were not going to let George W. Bush out-stimulus them. Another finger of blame for the financial crisis has been laid upon big business and the banks. The banks are being blamed for much of our nation's trials right now. In the meantime, standing in the corner of the room unnoticed is the 800-pound gorilla called the United States Congress, some of whose members were part and parcel to coercing these banks to make loans to people who had absolutely no chance of paying them back. It's funny that hasn't been brought up much, but it's the truth. It did happen. If you doubt me, put yourself in the banker's shoes for a second. A person comes in and applies for a loan. On the application, they state they are not employed and they have no means of income. As the banker, do you give that person the loan? The answer is yes, because if you don't, the federal government is going to be crawling all over your office the next day, investigating you, your bank, and all of your activities. Such was the threat that was posed to the banks. Does it make sense for the banker to make that loan if there's no government threat? How would the banker make money off of a loan that will never be repaid? The Dow plunged below 7,000. Now it's on its way back up slowly. People are definitely cautious about the next moves that the government will make. They want to see what is going to happen now that the government owns GM, Chrysler, and several of the largest banks in our country. This whole mess is troubling at least and disturbing at worst. First off, the government has no business interfering with these private entities. There is no precedent for what has happened here, not in this country anyway. By forcing these banks to accept TARP money, some of whom did not want it, the feds have taken control of them. So now, no decision will be made without the consent of the federal government, and that means Obama. With the auto manufacturers, things happened slightly different, but the same goals were achieved. The auto manufacturers went to Washington. They accepted a whole bunch of money to stay afloat. The government basically, at that point, buys into those auto manufacturers. It then becomes clear that even the bailout given to the auto manufacturers is not going to help them. So the auto manufacturers are forced then to divest most of their assets. And who reaps the rewards? Well, the government, of course, gets their share. After all, they are the ones that funded the bailout. Well, who is the second most beneficiary? The unions. The unions, who are largely responsible for the failing of the auto industry, now have a major stock in the companies that they once negotiated so hard against. The end result of this is, then, that the government controls the automakers and the unions get to continue doing what they do. What should have been allowed to happen is that the automakers that were going to fail or going bankrupt should have been allowed to go bankrupt. When a company in a free market system is being run into the ground, whether it's by its ownership or by high-powered unions or by both, it should be allowed to go bankrupt. That is the nature of the free market. Run your business well and you'll succeed. Run it poorly and you will not have a business for long. Someone needs to help explain the following article to me. In the Washington Times, reporter Joseph Curl writes in their Sunday edition that former Florida Governor Jeb Bush is out on a listening tour with a pack of Republican governors and congressmen. On Sunday in Arlington, Virginia, at a small restaurant, Bush commented on how the Republican Party needs to give up the era of Reagan and look forward, even if it means stealing the winning strategy put forth by the Democrats in 2008. Mr. Bush is quoted as saying, "You can't beat something with nothing, and the other side has something. I don't like it, but they have it, and we have to be respectful and mindful of that." He continues, "So our ideas need to be forward-looking and relevant. I felt like there was a lot of nostalgia and the good old days in the Republican messaging. I mean, it's great, but it doesn't draw people toward your cause," Mr. Bush said. This in itself is a completely wrong way to think about the last two elections. It's also the completely wrong way to think about the era of Ronald Reagan. The Republican Party has been getting their butts kicked the last two election cycles because they have strayed away from Reagan. They have not embraced him, they have distanced themselves from him. And the 2008 election was lost because the Republicans ran as the Democrat light ticket. There is no way that large numbers of people are going to be persuaded to vote for the Republican candidate if all he or she is going to do is be a little bit less of a liberal than the Democrat they are running against. What happens next in this article is what really gets me angry. Continuing on. The NCNA, that is the new group that Bobby Jindal and John McCain and Jeb Bush and Mr. Romney are starting. The NCNA, with the national panel of experts made up of Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal, Senator John McCain of Arizona, and Mr. Bush and Mr. Romney, says the goal of the listening tour is not to recast the party. This is not about messaging. This is not about branding, Mr. Cantor told the Washington Times. This is about trying to foster some discussion, because what's going on in Washington right now is not reflective of the mainstream of this country. The Republican Party is founded on some common-sense conservative principles that are effective today as they've always been. We just need to make sure we're listening to people, he said. Now, how can this quote from Jim Cantor be in the same article as the quote from Jeb Bush? I mean, they're on the same tour here, right? Have they actually talk to each other about what the other is saying? Early on, Jeb Bush is blasting the Republicans' nostalgic ways, and here is Cantor saying our conservative principles are effective today as they've always been. Now, which one is it, guys? I don't understand how they can be on the same tour with one saying the message of Reagan is dead and the other one saying we need to embrace our conservative principles. It makes no sense. I, by the way, agree with Mr. Cantor. Let's be clear about one thing. Conservatism, not Democrat light, is going to win elections for the Republican Party. The Republicans must offer a clear, concise message of conservative design and values to win. The idea that people will not respond to that is absurd. Reagan himself proved that if you can deliver the Republican Party's message in a clear, concise way, you can win over people who were either on the fence or full-time Democrats. That's what we need. Throw this Democrat-light business out the window. That's all I have time for. I hope you enjoyed the first podcast of Fostering America. Remember, you can speak directly to me by going to steadfastpatriot.com and clicking on the Fostering America page. My thanks to the steadfastpatriot.com, and for all of us here, have a good week, and may God bless America.